And so when I want to break the fourth wall, I stare intently into that one over there.
Exactly. And then
Excellent.
that's where you're going to say where you feel about roller skating.
Oh, I feel exuberantly accomplished about roller skating. Trying not to fall is so much fun. Wait, I was gonna say Meals on Wheels. That's wrong. Meals on Wheels with Mean Bean. You should totally keep that. The
Meals on Wheels?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
That's
should
a
have been my
different
derby name, actually.
Yeah, Meals on Wheels. Nice. Meals on Wheels with Mean Bean.
Hi, I'm Mean Bean, and this is Feels on Wheels, a talk show about roller skating.
Gloria Guns is a roller derby athlete and park skater. They skate for Ottawa Valley Roller Derby's Riptides and Valley Cats and Ottawa Roller Derby's Bytown Blackhearts. She was also a skater for Team Korea for the 2025 Roller Derby World Cup in Austria. She's a musician who performs in the band Scary Bear soundtrack, who also wrote and produced the theme song for this talk show. To hear more about how she got started in roller derby and park skating, you can also check out part 3 of the documentary series on YouTube, Black and Blue, a roller derby documentary.
Gloria Guns, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I love your outfit.
Oh, this is my new favorite article of clothing now. I would wear this to bed and everywhere, including the office if I could.
Amazing. I think you should try at least once. Maybe with a suit jacket.
Oh yeah, it would look great.
I'm not going to go into your backstory because you were one of the stars of the documentary that I did last year. So if you want to hear all about Gloria's adventures in skating, what led her up to being selected to be representing Team Korea at the World Cup, you can watch that episode. But you're back from Austria, and I want to talk to you first. Let's start about leading up to the World Cup. What did you do to prepare for your first ever tournament on the world stage with teams like Team USA, Team Australia,
Oh my gosh.
Team Canada?
The world's best roller derby skaters were all there. And
Yeah.
it's just like you mentioned, that was my first tournament ever. Not just internationally, just my first tournament ever. I never did Crush and the Furious and the other traditional tournaments that other people do. So it was pretty intimidating. And I know I talked about this before with the other documentary, but I think it's really important to understand that I didn't make it onto Team Korea because of skill. It's not I tried out and I was so good that I impressed everyone. We had enough players to make a team. And it was a small team too. So I made it onto the team because I was able to be a body on the track, and I am of Korean descent. So it was pretty intimidating to think about how I was going to be playing at this tournament with the world's best roller derby skaters and just athletes from all around the world. And up till this year, I had mostly been playing roller derby at a very recreational level, just for fun, house league type stuff, and never had this opportunity to play competitively before. So it was a little bit daunting, and I decided, okay, just for this year, let's get super serious about this and put my very best into it. I had just finished my PhD in December, so I was okay, well, PhD's done. Next big goal is going to be trying to be ready for World Cup. Not necessarily doing well at World Cup, but just literally being at my best. So I did try out for the competitive team, the B team for OVRD, and we're called the Riptides. I was shocked that I made it as a jammer. I still extremely grateful they gave me this opportunity, and I still continue to play for the other league with the Ottawa Roller Derby, playing training with the Bytown Blackhearts. So, and then of course I was also still on the house league team for OVRD with Go Valley Cats. There's no rivalry here whatsoever, but rat cat, but that meant that I was going to be very, very busy. I had, technically speaking, 6 practices a week. I did not make it to 6 practices a week, but I did usually have at least maybe 4 practices a week, sometimes more, and it was pretty busy. And then I did a bunch of other things too to try to prepare for it. I hired my roller derby teammate and actually my captain, Layla, who is a personal trainer, to design special programs for me for strength training and conditioning to get, and spent a lot of time going to physio and massage therapy, because I knew that I was going to have sore muscles. Studied up on a lot of derby stuff, watching games, and even reading about sports psychology and things like that. So it was a lot. I may have put as much work into getting to this point in roller derby as my PhD.
Nice.
Possibly. Maybe it's an exaggeration, maybe not.
Do you also have a PhD in derby now then?
Maybe. It's funny because I started like skating and training for derby around the same time I started my PhD. And so this is all culminated around all at the same time.
I
So
still think your new derby name should be Dr. Guns, actually.
Dr. Guns.
So what did you not do to prepare for World Cup? Because you're a bit of a risk taker.
Oh yeah, so I love going to the skate park, and I
Mhm.
did still go to the skate park a bit, but I really held back more than usual. I have like all these goals ultimately for park skating to be able to learn how to like get better at grinding rails and learning to do flips and stuff like that, but I put that on the back burner so that I wouldn't get injured doing something else before World Cup happened, and it was a lot of self-restraint, I have to say, on my part to try not to get really badly injured, because that happens, right? We know that some of the folks on Team Canada, like Miracle Whips, like you were there when
Yeah.
she got pretty badly injured and wasn't able to play World
And
Cup.
Falcon Punch.
Falcon Punch too, and this was all
Yeah.
like I think weeks before World Cup, right?
Yeah, and it was the same game.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's brutal, and that happens in derby, right? So I
Mhm.
had to try to be careful because I'm pretty accident prone, and like you said, into like taking risks.
Yeah, for sure. And so speaking more about Team Korea, you were
Mhm,
talking about world-class skaters, and you had some on your team,
mhm.
notably Shortstop, who is also a park skater. So what was it like being in such close contact with Shortstop?
I've mentioned before that Shortstop is one of my roller skating heroes. She's so cool and really talented as a derby skater, but also, like you said, like a really amazing park skater, but also has been a big part of putting Team Korea together and supporting basically a whole community of Korean skaters. So I was trying very hard not to be starstruck the entire time around her, but I will also say the whole team, like just a bunch of amazing athletes. Like Team Korea, we may have been small, we may not have had tryouts in the normal sense like the way Team Canada did, but there were skaters on that team who had been skating for 20 years.
Wow.
There were skaters who were playing very competitively in their league and had been doing it a long time. Some of them played bank track, and so they were really, really experienced. And then here I was coming in and be like, "Hi, my name is Gloria. Played a couple of seasons of roller derby bouts, and and I can only really jam because that's the only thing I know how to do. I hope you guys accept me." But they were really nice.
And did you jam?
Yeah, I did. They were really great about giving me quite a bit of playtime. I thought that was extremely generous of them. I was initially rostered as a jammer, and then eventually, as the games continued, I started to do a lot more blocking too because we just needed more bodies on the track. It was incredible. We had this one moment where we had agreed for World Cup that the priority would be to give everyone some playtime, right? As opposed to winning. I don't think that we thought we were going to win World Cup. And I really appreciated that because it is a competitive environment. But we did at some point in the games decide, like, okay, we're actually doing really well. This was the game against Greece. Let's decide now. Do we want to prioritize winning this game, or do we want to still like have everyone play the equal amount? And I like raised my hand. I was like, no, let's win this game because we're doing really well. And honestly, I was just happy to be there. I could have just sat on the bench the whole time and I still would have just been starry-eyed, fangirling all over the place and just absolutely happy to be there.
So walk me through. It's the day of the flight. You're heading to Austria. What's going on? What are you thinking?
Oh.
You arrive in Austria. What was it like?
Oh man, I was just so anxious. I was trying to play it cool, but I was just so like the closer like World Cup got, I just kept thinking, what am I doing? Why am I here? Like, I don't deserve to be here. The classic, I don't know if you could call it imposter syndrome, because I legitimately didn't have the same skill level as a lot of other people. But I was just like, is this a mistake? Am I going to completely humiliate myself? Because I knew, like, even at my best, I wasn't going to be playing as good as, Freight Train and all these other folks that have been playing for so long and at the top of their game. And the whole thing was going to be not only live stream, but people had paid money to come see us play. So at one point I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have the courage to suck in public. Like, I know that I'll be doing my best, and I don't think there's any expectations of me suddenly becoming this stellar, like, world-class, like, derby player. So I need to remember, like, and I said this, we had these conversations. My main goal was to get to like World Cup and have a good time and do my best, and even if that means making a bunch of mistakes, I made lots of mistakes, and you can stream the games to see all the mistakes that I made. I just like kept this goal of like just maintaining a positive attitude and having a good time. And that's, I think, what kept it like a really good experience.
So you arrive for the sign up.
Yes.
Can you paint a picture for me? Like what
my
is
goodness.
around you? Like
Well-
what are you seeing?
Yeah, it was tough too because Innsbruck is like a ski town normally, and I was like really excited about this chance to maybe play roller derby in an environment that's not sweltering hot like today, right now. But they were actually going through a heat wave
Oh.
at the time. And by the time I got there, I hadn't really slept because it was like an overnight flight. And and actually, as soon as I arrived in Innsbruck, I had to go straight to the venue because our practice time was literally 15 minutes after I arrived in Innsbruck. So I just went straight with all of my gear. So I guess all of that had me just running on maybe pure fumes or like just adrenaline at that point. And I got to the venue, got to meet my teammates, some of them for the first time. And then like that was like one of our few chances to test out the floor because that's a big deal in derby, right? You want to know what
Mhm.
kind of wheels you need. And that was my first time skating on sport court, which is
Mm.
a type of floor that I think is very commonly used with other roller derby leagues, but not so much here in Ottawa because we don't have the space for it. But it's essentially plastic tiles that they put together to create a floor for the track for roller derby. And I'd never skated on that before. And it freaked me out because it was somehow both sticky and slippery at the same time. I had actually only brought two sets of wheels and neither of them were ideal. And I was doing my best, trying not to panic about just not being able to skate on it. And like Bugogi, one of my teammates, like really experienced, amazing skater, who gave me some kind advice about how to mix up the skates in a way that I've never done before to like get the optimal setup. And I finally got that done. And then I was like, you know what? At this point, like I think that my nerves started to calm down because I was like, you know what? There's not much more I can do at this point, but just to play and get ready to play because I've spent the last 6 months or so training for it, and here I am.
Tell me about your first game. How did that go?
Oh, it was so much fun. It's honestly the first game was probably my favorite, not just because we won, but it was also a close game. It was against Greece. Such a lovely team. It was such an amazing experience. Again, I had another freak out moment when I looked up and saw there was like so many people in the stands, like and knowing that my league mates like OVRD were streaming the game and they had me on a regular rotation as a jammer, and so it was actually, I think it was some of my best jams was from that game because I think our skills were more evenly matched there. I had some really good moves, it looks like. I found out later that Harding, one of our coaches at OVRD, who was my jammer coach for the Riptides, the competitive team, apparently she was very proud and was screaming so loud, cheering for me that like that people were looking at her. And that just made me feel like really proud that I was able to put together some of the skills that I've been working on this past year and do it. And that was my favorite game. There's at one point where I had made it out of the pack, and then the Greece's jammer also came up behind me and then just knocked me off the track. And you know me, I love jammer on jammer violence. And I like just got up, and I hope the cameras got this, with a huge smile on my face because we got jammer on jammer violence at World Cup. What else is there for me to accomplish with my derby career? It was amazing.
Just to give some context to something you said earlier,
Oh, yeah.
Harding, your coach,
Yeah.
was on Team Canada and was also in Innisbrook, but for Team Canada. So when she was yelling in person.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, that was really neat because we had actually a number of people from our league at World Cup. And so I could actually hear them cheering from the stand. And it meant so much to me because I was like, who's going to come and cheer on Team Korea? I don't think that there's any Koreans from Korea coming to watch us. And so it was just so meaningful to have friends online and in person there to support me.
So I realized, we talked about it in your documentary about Koreans not really understanding the sport of roller derby.
Yeah.
But your parents did watch your documentary and had a little bit of insight.
Yeah.
What did they think about you going to World Cup?
I think that my dad was really intrigued, and he was like, yeah, how did you get on Team Korea? And I was like, I don't know either. And my parents have never come to watch a game. And I realize now after talking to them a little bit more, it's not because they don't support me. I think they just have a really hard time watching me get knocked down. And I get that. I think if I had my own kid, I would probably feel really nervous about watching them, especially if they were really klutzy, getting like into situations where they might get injured. But my parents did actually end up watching not the games, but they watched the World Cup parade that happened. I didn't even tell them that it was being live streamed, but they just found it on their own and watched it and watched me with my team coming in and told me afterwards that, well, they didn't say I'm proud of you, but their words like, sort of implied that in the best way that like, Korean parents would.
That's super sweet. Tell me about some of the fun, memorable experiences you had with some of your roller derby idols.
Oh, it was, I can't say enough how impressed I was with my teammates. They were such troopers because, first of all, we were an older team. Our average age is 42. Like, I like to think that 40s is still young, but in the world of athletics, like, that's kind of old, especially since a lot of other derby skaters were in their like early 20s and things like that. So we were literally like a team of Korean aunties. And we were a small team. I think our team was only maybe 12 or 13 skaters, and other teams were rostering 20 skaters, right? So it meant that our blockers were playing continuously, which is how I ended up blocking because I realized that they needed like some more support blocking. But, you know, it was just amazing to see the skills that they had, of course, but also the stamina because like people like shortstop and the other blockers, they would be coming off the track for a moment, and I think at some point shortstop might have been bleeding from the mouth or something, and she'd be like, I just need a minute, I just need a minute. Okay, put me back in. And she would just go back on and just kill it. Just these were like during the other two games against the Philippines and Chile, they beat us by like 200 points. Like it was not a close match. But my teammates were fighting like we were tied. They never gave up. They just kept pushing, and it was just so inspiring to see them probably tired, but they weren't showing it, and they were just playing so well. And we're also a short team, I think I should mention. Like I'm 5'2", 5'3", and I was taller than a bunch of my teammates.
Weren't you the tallest?
No, not the tallest.
Oh,
But
okay.
like I think, well, apparently according to the stats, I was average height, but that meant like maybe half the team was shorter than me. And for photos, for a while, shortstop like thought it would be really funny to make us line up in order of height, and I kept for a while being at the end. And so what that meant is we were playing against teams that some of them were like taller than us, or like just bigger than us, and seeing blockers like Bulgogi, who's like 4'10", just throwing themselves at the blockers, like who were much taller than them, like just like practically kneecapping them, like, and just with no fear whatsoever, and moving blockers as though they were like huge giants. It was just so awe-inspiring.
I love that. So
Mhm.
talk to me about sweaty hugs.
Oh my gosh. So our last game was with Chile, and Team Chile is just a team of firecrackers, like chili peppers, basically. They were just super, super tough, and they hit hard, and they really like they beat us by, like I said, like I think over 200 points, and they were just so good, but so nice, especially off the track. And so at the end of our game, we had lost by quite a bit, and we were fine with that. We knew that we probably weren't going to win that game. Oh, I should also mention that the first game that Chile had, they played against Team USA. So
Oh.
like so much kudos to Team Chile for being the warriors that they were. And so I would imagine, like, if they were bringing the firepower that they brought it to Team USA to Team Korea, that, like, would explain a lot because they were super strong and were hitting hard. But afterwards, like, they were practically crying. They had these smiles on their faces and were just so joyous and so exuberant. And they just came running over to us. And at the end of the game where you're supposed to, normally, if you do like the team high five. So we lined up to high five, and they just came over and just like engulfed us in like hugs and also kisses on the face. And at one point I was just like, somebody tell the Chileans that Koreans don't hug. Like I was like, okay, this is World Cup, different cultures encountering each other and learning each other's ways. And for you guys, I guess it's kissing me on the face. It was a pretty funny moment. And then afterwards, they came by our locker room and asked to exchange jerseys and things like that. And that's how I ended up with Team Chile's jersey. It's actually amazing how collegial the whole tournament was. Everyone fought hard and did their best, and a lot of the games were not close at all. But off the track, we were all like giving each other gifts and swapping jerseys, like I said, and just like buying each other's merch, and just a big love fest. Like just imagine what it would be like if the United Nations was running like that. Just a bunch of folks having fun and making friends.
What was it like being part of the parade?
Oh, that was so cool. We weren't super prepared, I will say, because we didn't get a clear sense of what was going to like unfold with it, but we did get some notice in advance that we would have an opportunity to designate one person to make a short speech, and then they would play our song while we like marched in. And so, first of all, I don't know how it ended up that I ended up delivering the speech. There was only a few people on the team that could speak Korean, and we thought it would be nice to say a couple of words of Korean. And originally I thought, okay, well, like, no one here speaks Korean, like in this entire arena. So it's okay if I say a few words in Korean because no one will know it's wrong. Then I found out my parents were watching. So it's a good thing that I kept it simple. because I was like, I could just say like all sorts. I could say Opan Gangnam Style. Oh no, I think people might have recognized that.
Embarrass your parents on the international
Exactly.
stage.
No, I kept it simple. Just said a few words, introduced the team, and then like gave the rest of the speech in English. And it was actually one of my that was also one of my proudest moments too. Just having that opportunity to be out there and sharing with the world how proud I was to be with the team. And then they played our song, and I think there was some, I don't know about misunderstanding, but like we were told that we could like forward to the organizers some kind of theme song. And it turned out that a bunch of teams had actually submitted their national anthem, which in retrospect makes total sense, like the Olympics. But I had convinced the team to use as our theme song a K-pop song by this rapper CL called Spicy, and it's just all about being the most fly Asian and being spicy like kimchi. And so after my speech, they started playing that, and then we were just kind of marching into this K-pop song. And that was also the song that they would play at the beginning of each game. And other teams had actually, some of them had coordinated an actual dance, and like it was super impressive, but we hadn't really come up with that. So at some point we're just standing awkwardly, like kind of shuffling to CL, singing about being the most fly Asian. And then I was like, okay, we need to do something. So I started doing cartwheels and breakdancing moves in my skates to sort of liven it up a little bit. And the crowd actually really liked that a lot. So it was kind of a fun moment to sort of bring in some of my park skating tricks into the whole thing.
There was some significant Asian representation at World Cup.
Yeah.
So were you guys the most fly Asians?
That was really funny because we, I think, weren't expecting to play against Team Philippines, who was also really good. And so it was a bit funny where we had the intro song, and then we're singing, we've got the song about being the most fly Asians, and I'm just like, I wasn't expecting to play another Asian team. You guys are pretty fly too, actually. Disregard the lyrics, But it was actually really special to be able to play against Team Philippines. Like, I don't get the chance to play even on a line of all Asians, so to play on a team and a game against all Asians was pretty cool.
Yeah, what a surreal experience. So it doesn't surprise me that you're absolutely horrible at trash talk, because like even here when you play derby, you're way too nice to actually properly trash talk people. You should have just let it go.
I have a bad habit of complimenting the other team. Maybe not bad. I guess this is sportsmanship. But
great.
a lot of times, like when the jammer hit me out, the Greek jammer, I was just like, that was amazing! You did a great job knocking me out. That was so awesome.
Nice.
I don't think anyone thinks that I'm super intimidating, and I'm fine with that.
You look intimidating.
Sure.
On the track. Yeah. Until you start speaking, and then you're like, it's all this nice stuff that comes out, and it's like, oh, okay. So what other stories do you have for me?
Oh, this just speaks to how hardcore and awesome and badass my teammates are. I noticed during the games, one of my teammates was like wrapping her fingers together in like a bandage or tape or something like that. And then I think it was after our last game, we all went out for Chinese buffet. And I mentioned to my teammate, like, yeah, I noticed you were taping up your finger. Did you like bruise it or something? And she's like, yeah, I think I heard it somehow. And then she waved her finger at me, and her finger was pointing in the wrong direction. And I've experienced it with that because I've broken my own finger before too. And I was like, dude, I think your finger's broken. And she said, really? It's not that bad, is it? And I was like, look at it. I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be pointing sideways. It's like, oh, I don't know if it's that bad. It doesn't hurt that much. And I was like, well, I'm not a doctor, but it doesn't seem right, and maybe you should get that checked out.
Excuse you, you are a doctor.
Yes, that's true. I did actually say that at some point. I am a doctor, but not a useful one. A doctor of laws, but not. Someone at the table was a chiropractor, and like also not necessarily the same thing as a emergency room medical doctor. But I was like, I don't know, bones. Does this look right? And she's like, yeah, you might want to get that looked at. And I just thought that was really funny. And some weeks later, she reported back to the team, yeah, it was fractured.
Well, you're not a doctor of medicine, but you have broken fingers. So exactly. I feel like you're like, semi an expert.
Or like basic anatomy, but fingers should generally point upwards and not sideways.
True.
So I think the thing that was the most meaningful part about World Cup, I mean, I had different goals and experiences than maybe someone on Team USA, Team Australia, or Team Canada. I wasn't there, like I said, because I was like the most skilled derby skater. And my goal for going to World Cup wasn't about showcasing my athleticism or lack thereof, but it was just about this precious opportunity to play on a team full of other Koreans because I don't get that opportunity, right? Even here in Ottawa, we do have some other skaters of color, including some Asian skaters, but there's not a lot, and it's mostly a white space, which is fine. That's just what derby looks like in Ottawa at the
Mhm.
moment. But I often feel like I'm different, and I often find myself like questioning, do I belong here? Can everyone tell that I feel like I'm different? And a lot of those sort of like identity questions. And so this opportunity to play on a team full of Koreans was just like mind-boggling, like incredible. I still can't believe it. And also a team full of really cool Koreans too, right? Here I was on this team of super cool badasses that had really cool lives outside of derby too. Like some of them are DJs and hairdressers and like just really, really interesting lives, really nice folks. And to be able to be there and feeling like I actually belong on this team in a way that I've never felt before. It's interesting because I do love like the teams in Ottawa and my friends are really great and making me feel comfortable. But it's hard to explain sometimes, but it's only when I'm in a group like Team Korea that I realize that there's been something missing and I've never been able to voice that sort of gap that I've been feeling and or recognize it until I was playing on Team Korea. And just this idea of maybe inspiring other Koreans to get into roller derby because roller derby skaters could look like the way we do, and just planting that idea also made me so proud.
So was there any emotional moments? Did you have some time to reflect on that while you were there?
Oh, so much. Like I remember it, this I don't know if this is silly, but at one point when we were warming up for I think our second game with Team Philippines, we were just warming up and just like jogging behind the stands there. And I thought to myself, is this cheesy? Because I feel like this is the happiest moment of my life. And I thought that getting through my PhD dissertation was the happiest moment of my life. And maybe, like, I can't compare those things, but I was like, I have never felt so carefree and happy until this moment where I'm just so lucky to be here in this like amazing place with amazing people with this incredible opportunity. How lucky and blessed am I? And like I don't know if I'll ever feel like that again. It was such a high, and that was just warming up, so it was pretty cool.
That's not cheesy at all. It's beautiful, actually. Um,
Unrestrained joy.
oh, that is so lovely. And have you kept up connections with your Team Korean teammates
Oh yeah,
after?
we already started talking about like the next World Cup and things we want to do and games we want to try to play before then, and if there's ways we can meet up, maybe we can get them to come to Canada at some point or something. Like I think these are some friendships that I'm excited to keep maintaining and to stay in touch with my teammates because they're so cool.
Maybe Canada should host an Asian roller derby tournament.
Oh, there's been talks of that.
Ooh,
Just rumors, but there's been talks about holding one in Vancouver, and like I feel very insistent that it needs to be called the Noodle Bowl.
yes. Angel told me about the noodle
Yeah,
bowl. She's like,
yeah,
just imagine the
exactly.
designs,
Oh
the
wait,
merch.
I have another story. And one of my favorite memories in Innsbruck wasn't actually at World Cup because I decided one day in the evening after, I think it was after our practice, I was basically going to the grocery store that was near the hotel and I saw some rollerbladers, and on a very spontaneous whim, I decided to follow them. And because it looked like they were going to go trail skating, and it turns out they were going trail skating. It turns out there's a weekly event in Innsbruck where hundreds of rollerbladers gather together, take over the streets. Like the streets of Innsbruck are shut down to accommodate hundreds of rollerbladers all skating. And I think it might be sponsored by some companies and radio stations because there is a car that follows along with a megaphone yelling things in German, I'm sure very encouraging, with like music blasting. And so it was this incredible moment where we were just like trail skating through downtown Innsbruck, just like looks like just a dreamy European city, and me skating surrounded by rollerbladers. There wasn't a lot of other quad skaters, and so I was like, this is so surreal. Like I don't even know where we're going or where we're gonna stop, and I hope I find my way back to the hotel afterwards because I'm running out of batteries on my phone. And then at one point, another like quad skater found me, and she was like, "You look like you're a derby skater." And it turns out it was Tiny Fury from Montreal who was coaching for Montreal roller derby. And so we had found each other and we decided to go on this adventure together. Neither of us knew where we were going or how long the trail skate was going to be. Ended up being 15 kilometers, by the way, because we ended up like in another small village outside of Innsbruck in this parking lot. And then finally found one of the volunteers and we asked him like, we're gonna go back, right? Like, because we don't really know how to get back. We literally skated on a highway to get here, so it was like a really magical, spontaneous adventure. We skated back, and the sun had gone down by the time we got back, and I appreciated that I was able to have like these magical moments, even outside of World Cup, that it just brought me to these like really cool journeys.
But what are the odds that you'd run into a Canadian
Yep.
roller derby player in this random excursion, right? Like, that's crazy.
I ran into Canadians everywhere. Actually, I should have mentioned when I had a layover in Munich, I ran into Astra from Peterborough, who I believe we played against a couple of weeks before, because Astra was playing for Team Latvia, and we found each other and we rode the bus to Innsbruck together. And I was like, man, Canadians are everywhere.
But especially at World Cup.
Apparently.
Represent, yeah. World Cup happened, and that's such a high.
Mhm.
And what has it been like after World Cup, and how has that changed your relationship to derby?
Mhm.
Where do you see yourself going in the near future when it comes to roller derby?
Honestly, life has been such a roller coaster in the last little while. I've defended my PhD dissertation and then immediately was thrown into like World Cup preparation. So I'm giving myself the space to finally rest, like Gloria style rest, and taking a little break from derby to like heal my body and deal with all of the medical issues I've been ignoring, and give myself some time to just allow myself to just rest and reflect on what happened and all these wonderful experiences, and also catch up on all the other aspects of life that I wasn't able to do because I was so busy with roller derby practice. So I'm spending a lot of time meeting like friends that I haven't seen in a long time, going hiking, going camping, and riding my bike. All these normal people things that I haven't been able to do. Reading books, just letting myself enjoy life for a little while. I do plan to go back to Derby after a break, but honestly, I'm really enjoying life right now at a bit of a slower pace.
That's surprising. Not that you're enjoying
Italian
life.
style. I'm about to go to a gymnastics class after this interview, so I mean, like,
I was gonna say, it's not a surprise you're enjoying life, because that's totally on brand. It's the slower pace part that's surprising.
Different risky activities. I feel exuberantly accomplished about roller skating.
Yeah.
Big words.
Good job.
Trying not to fall, there's so much